Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business, and we're doing that here at the
Engage
Summit in Raleigh, North Carolina. Element451. I have spoken to 10, I don't know, maybe 12, 14, a great amount of people here at the Engage Summit, and they are very excited, to say the least, about the Element451 product, what the takeaways are, the implementation of artificial intelligence into the operations of the system. It has been absolutely
excellent.
And one person that's going to bring it home, he's going to bring it all the way home, full circle, is this man right here. In fact, he is back for his second time ever on the podcast. You will remember him, if you've been a longtime fan, from episode 104. Yes, that's 104. We are on 650-something. 104, that was 2.5 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. He is Ardis Kadiu, and he is the founder and CEO of Element451. Ardis, what's going on?
Hey, Joe. It's great being here, man. It's 2.5 years. That's a long time, right?
It's like coming full circle to get you back again.
I know. I wish I was on the top 100. Top one.
You missed it by 4.
5.
I mean, come on. That's not bad. That's not bad. Back then when we spoke, Element451, you had a few years in, you were growing. And, we talked recently and we said, Element451 is really growing right now. But it doesn't go from 0 to 100 so fast. There's growing pains that you've worked through. You've been in the dirt and the hard work. And then all of a sudden, the system, the market is beginning to be really ready for the program and the processes and the product that you offer. How excited are you, and what does it mean to you to grow this organization?
It's, sometimes it's surreal. And, I look back at it and it's like there's a lot of grind. And usually as an entrepreneur, you're always thinking, you're like, hey, what's next? And as we've gone through, I have a really good team that kind of pulls me back a little bit and says, hey, Ardis, let's just celebrate some of the wins that we've had recently.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Got to celebrate the wins.
We got to celebrate the wins. Yeah.
And you've had a lot of wins lately. One of your biggest wins is really this conference, by the way. What I love about this conference is the intimacy of it. And I want to double down on this for a minute. There are a lot of higher ed conferences. There's a lot of very big higher ed conferences.
Yes.
Where you're one of many people. And I'm not sure there's really a lot of work getting done at those conferences beyond, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. You guys have been working. You've been working the product. People are excited. They're using the product while they're in the session. The solutions are being created. That's the benefit of something like this. Congratulations. And what does it mean to you to have these people together talking about the product Element451?
So we have designed Engage to be not specifically geared for Element, the product. So we have a product track and we have an industry track, but we have designed it specifically to be kind of an open platform for a lot of marketers, enrollment professionals, IT professionals to actually come in. We've doubled in size since last year.
Congratulations.
We have more than thank you. We have more than quadrupled in size in online viewers since last year.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really been key to kind of how we get our message out there. There's a lot of conferences that are very internally focused about the product, about the company, kind of pushing that message. But we've tried to take another approach to it, be more open and bring in industry experts that, hey, you know what? They're not even using Element, right? So we had folks from Siena College, they're not even using Element, but because of the some innovative works that they're doing in marketing, like we brought them in as a speaker. We have folks from outside of higher education. So that's been really key to the success and what we see the future of the conference is, where it's a more open platform rather than Element specific.
That's important because higher ed in general is in some trouble, right? Enrollment it's a big deal. We need more of it, and there isn't as much to go around. It's not that we can be so specific. We have to have a broader view of things. That broader view is important because it's not only bringing your customers to the table. You're saying, hey, higher education, we need to think differently. It doesn't matter who you're working with. If you don't start with thinking differently, we're not going to be here. I mean, I see it on the faces. I see the people that you have at the conference are going, we're concerned. We know we need to grow. We need help. And that's what I think this conference is really providing is a lifeline for people to see There's evolution coming. Help is on the way. But it's not just for the customers, it's for higher ed in general. And that's, I have to give you kudos for that, because I think that's a really good message.
Yeah, thank you. I think we, you know, we are very overworked in higher education, and
Nailed it.
We're usually one of the industries that are losing people the fastest, besides healthcare.
Yikes!
And when we think about it, it's we need to have resilient teams and build our teams, and bringing them to an event like this where they're able to see and feel appreciated, and also build their professional development, and hear that their problems in higher education, it's not an echo chamber. This is an industry-wide issue, and how to deal with it. There's a lot smarter people in other industries that are, you know, putting a lot more resources in how to fix these problems, work with data, works with, so bringing that all here, you know, there's a sense of excitement that, hey, we're not alone, and this is not a closed loop and an echo chamber in higher ed, but these problems are, you know, larger macro problems on the economy, on the state of education. We had a perspective here today where, you know, one of our keynote speakers told the story on how education is impacting families, and it's impacting communities from international students as they're coming here as first, you know, they're first in their family or even in their community to go to college.
Amazing.
And how it's impacting them. So hearing those stories and thinking about education from an external perspective and being thanked for what we're doing is actually really important, right? We don't get a lot of thanks. Like, we get the parents, we get people who are like, when they're in stress, we hearing it all the time, but coming here, it's a little bit different. It's like education is important, and we don't have to think always about is my school closing down because of financial issues, or the education is playing a much bigger role. And education as it stands today is evolving, and us as education professionals should be evolving with it, right? And that's a really important part of it. Don't think about it as where it is today. Think about where it's going to be tomorrow, you know, the next decade. I see education as being a transformer of, you know, society, and something that's really driving it forward.
Bullseye.
Speaking of driving things forward, you're implementing a lot of AI into your system. That's been a big, you know, ChatGPT. It's been a common theme throughout the sessions that you've had. Besides the fact that we better get used to having AI with us.
Yes.
If you're listening to this and you're fighting the AI trend, you better, I would never tell anybody to stop fighting, but you know what? This is one of those moments where it's like fighting the cell phone. You remember, you know, the flip phone, and people would get a phone that had a screen, and I'm never getting that. And I bet you're holding an iPhone right now. It's the same thing. It's going to happen around you, and eventually you're going to be adopting it in some way. You're at the forefront of that. Yeah. There's CRMs out there, there's competitors, and there's other companies and other industries with CRM. You just went and just jumped on it. We're AI, it's going to be in the system. We're going to help you, you know, because people aren't familiar. You know, you might know what AI is, but putting in a ChatGPT prompt, a good one, is a science. It's not like you can just tell me what color my hair is. It's you know, you got to know how to do roles and responsibilities and all that. Why so quick? Why so quick, Ardis? Because AI, at least in its current form, 6 months ago, we weren't really talking about it.
Yeah.
But now, 6 months later, you're doubling down on it, saying it's going to be part of the system.
Yeah. So AI has been an accelerator for us. It hasn't been something that it's like, hey, is this thing, and now we need to put into the product. We really see it as a tool and as an accelerator. So we were building things in the system. We were building things a certain way in order to kind of facilitate and make people more productive and make the student experience better. Now, the advancement in AI is bringing and accelerating that 10x, 20x. And now we can do things a lot faster and a lot better. And by bringing AI in, so what we saw, we're like, wow, now we can build these technologies into the product, and we can accelerate our vision by 2, 3, 5 years of where we're going to be. We can now get that done in 6 months to a year. And based on our roadmap and based on kind of what you saw during the conference, you can see it's like, wow, you're actually able to create a full campaign just by asking certain, chatting with our Copilot. You're building full campaigns, content written, images, the plan, everything, And we weren't able to do that before. We did our packs, which was an accelerator, and this was last year. But now when AI comes in, generative AI specifically, to be able to generate content and think through it, we can accelerate that a lot faster. So it's been...
That's a fact. That's a fact.
What I like about you, Ardis, is you're a thinker. You're thinking about the future, not only from implementing AI into the system to make it better for higher ed administrators and faculty and staff to serve students, but also this is a way to grow business. You can accelerate and grow your business by looking at innovations that makes your business more viable. It makes your business more desirable. And in a world of higher education where we struggle to understand, I think we struggle to understand, and I'm speaking from my point of view, what tech should I bring on? What should I bring on? Who's going to be viable in the future as a technology partner? Are they going to make it? Are they going to be in business? Are they going to go out of business? Are they going to be there for the long run? Are they going to really be a partner? Are they going to be somebody that just gives me the technology and says, good luck? And I've had a range of experiences around that. There's been partners and there's been technology companies, and there's a big difference. And you are standing on a pedestal. Now, that's a bad way to say it, but you're standing on a rock saying, we're a partner. We're not just a technology company. How important is that message to people thinking about a CRM?
It's super important. I mean, if you think about it, it's like we are spending a lot of resources in things that traditionally a technology company doesn't do, including implementations as part of it, doing integrations in-house, having consulting as part of. So a lot of these things are cost centers for us that we don't charge our partners for, but they are actually part of what they get with the product. And the reason for that is because we know that there's those gaps on the other side. And when they're coming in and they're seeing that, and they're like, oh, does that mean that I don't have to pay you another $10,000 for you to do an audit for me? It's like, yes, of course, we're going to, does it mean that we don't have to pay you for the implementation? That is mind blowing, because that is not the model right now for a lot of technology providers. They think about themselves as selling a widget or selling access to their platform or product, and everything else is extra, right? If you want,
it's fuzzy math.
Yeah. So in this case, we are committed to making you successful rather than thinking about us implementing something for you, signing the contract, and we're like, oh, you're locked in now, so
we got you.
We got you.
We don't do that here at Element451. What's changed over the last 2 years? We spoke a couple years ago. Yeah. Here we are 2 years later, a couple COVID years, but higher education in total is experiencing some pretty significant disruption, not just technology disruption. AI is disrupting every industry, but there's closures, there's mergers, there's acquisitions, there's deficits, and there's just less students. What have you seen over the last couple of years as you talk with your clients and partners?
From our perspective, we see a tool like Element being an accelerator, and we see that there's going to be winners and losers. I mean, let's face it, right? There's going to be institutions who are going to be there and who are going to win, and those who are winning usually have a couple of things that that are going for them. They understand the student experience. They're trying to provide value to that student, a value and ROI to that student, and they're communicating that really, really well.
Yep.
They're meeting the students' expectations, essentially, right? They're meeting their expectations from the product side and from the experience side. And they're accelerating their growth. You can see, a lot of those for-profit or even the SNHUs of the world or Liberty or things like that have accelerated their growth, right?
Yep.
And then you see other institutions who are stuck in their old ways and saying, hey, our product is really our programs. But it's not. It's the whole experience, right?
I don't think so.
So if you're trying to sell somebody a luxury product, which is higher education, you have to build that experience around with it. You have to be, the speed, the product has to be really good. The ROI has to be there. So if you're missing all those components, it's like you're just a me too. Like it doesn't matter how beautiful your website is. It doesn't matter how beautiful your messaging is. It's a push messaging, right? You have to build the whole experience.
100%.
That experience matters. It's interesting because to your point, we think, at least higher ed, sometimes we'll think the product is what you're buying. It's not. There is a similar product in every other institution, just like yours.
Yes.
What are you buying? What's the and? And I was talking about in my session, how do you quality? There's parity in quality. Quality. This institution has quality. This one has quality. In fact, you might have the same adjunct instructor teaching at this private as you do this community college, as you do this, whatever. So you're going to get a decent quality education at an accredited, regionally accredited school, which is like, 90% of the colleges in the US. But what makes you different? What's the and? And we're really, really bad at qualifying what the and is, aren't we? I mean, how do we do this better, Ardis?
Yeah, we're really bad at it. I mean, when you think about, it's like I can get the same education for free on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Everybody thinks that way. It's like, hey, I have the best, computer science from Stanford on YouTube for free.
And I can run an AI that gives me the transcript in like 2 seconds.
Exactly. You can kind of do your class notes in seconds now. So that's really not the experience in the product, right? So there's this journey, like there's companies and there is hospitality. Think about the Ritz-Carlton group, right?
Yeah.
Like they're known for their hospitality. So the idea of creating experiences and the idea of people are always going to buy experiences. If you think about it, they're buying experiences, they're going through experiences. Education is super important, so it's never going to go away, but how you wrap it and how you provide that experience, how you reach out to that student and kind of how do you show their value and how do you fit into the ecosystem, right? Because education is an ecosystem. It's not necessarily just an institution.
That's
like
right.
You're fitting into an ecosystem. You're building a talent pipeline for those for those companies that need that talent in that industry. So if you're not able to adopt and be part of that ecosystem and fit yourself in that, then that's you're going to be left behind, right?
Yikes! Nobody wants to be left behind. One of the things I was saying in my talk too, and you'll know this, students are going to come in to an institution with their own set of AI tools that they're using for their learning. They're going to go, hey, Ardis, you're working at XYZ University. I use Barely, and I use ChatGPT, and I use this, and I use that. These come with me. I'm going to use these. Are you going to provide them to me? Are you going to be embedding these in my... Because if you're not going to show me and you're not going to give me something I'm familiar with, I'm going to go find it somewhere else. So they're going to come with their own pre-programmed, for lack of a better way to say it, AI expectations.
Yes.
Are we thinking about that appropriately in higher ed? Do you think, does this come up in any of the conversations you deal with?
So, I mean, what do you think about the idea of what's the ultimate goal of education? Like the ultimate goal of institution, anybody who's providing education, like the ultimate goal is having a one-to-one relationship, right? You have one student, you have one tutor, one faculty member, one advisor. So essentially, that experience of one-to-one is kind of what we're striving for. And the students bringing in those tools, they're learning capability tools. So we see ourselves as gatekeepers instead of seeing ourselves as guides, right?
Ooh, good.
So seeing ourselves as gatekeepers has gotten us to a place where we have test scores and essays and lengthy admissions processes. And now we're trying to unwind all of that stuff and trying to go back and saying, hey, we're guides. You know what? We want to get you to a certain place, an outcome. And how do we roll that back and look back from that outcome and say, what's the fastest way to get you to that outcome? So bringing AI tools, that's just the beginning, right? Faculty members are pushing back on it, but they shouldn't really be pushing back on it. They should really be thinking about how can I use these tools, leverage it to make myself have more bandwidth so I can communicate with a student, give them better advice or give them, have a better education, because the tools can do the work or the menial things. And so thinking about AI as a co-pilot and as a guide is much better than thinking about it as, a tool that is putting guardrails in place or that is gatekeeper of information and so on and so forth.
I like your style, dude.
I think you're right. And I think that you've held a beautiful conference. By the way, I think that people don't typically understand what goes into planning a conference. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of time, energy, money to provide a good experience, which we're using the word experience here. A conference needs to be an experience. It needs to be memorable because you want people to walk away and go, man, Engage Summit was amazing. And I think you've done that. What do you want to say about your team? What do you want to say about this process? Take the microphone a minute and tell us what it took to pull this off.
So we had certain goals, right? We're like, hey, we want to double for next year.
Yeah.
And we want to do this. And the team has been incredible in actually hitting those numbers and meeting those goals and even surpassing those goals. There's a lot of little details that go into it. I'm usually a visionary, and sometimes I don't like the small details. So sometimes
you liar.
So I've tried to surround myself with people who are so driven, so dedicated that, they take a lot of their responsibility on and actually make things happen. So I'm really, really glad and really proud of the team that we've built in here. Mallory Wilsey, she's done an incredible job in terms of spearheading.
Yeah, shout out to Mallory Wilsey, who I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a podcasting story there. One day we'll get her on to tell it. But you've had a shout out to Surly here. She's been like, Joe, you need to work harder. You're not podcasting enough. And so she's been moving me along, and I've been listening to her every
commit. Handler.
Yeah, but she's been great, just keeping me on schedule and keeping the guests coming. But every single detail matters, right?
Yes, every single detail. You should see our planning docs. It's like we have, okay, you're going to be here this minute. Our run a show was about an hour. Like we went through every little detail, and kudos to the team for kind of bringing all of that together. I just show. I'm like, hey, here's my card.
You just show up?
No. No. Yeah, I wish I could just show
Here
up.
Here you go. Go buy a bunch of stuff. What do you want to say about the future of Element451?
So we're really thinking about the problem, right? I love the problems that we're solving. So we're not falling in love with the technology or our product or how we're implementing certain things. Those can evolve. They're changing. AI came along and now it's accelerated things. So we're falling in love with the problem. That's what we're communicating internally. Hopefully we try to communicate that to the teams and to the people here at Engage this last couple of days, that there's this huge problems, and that's what we're focusing on. And if something better comes along and if we can do things better and faster, we're going to get you there a lot better and faster. So Element as the product is evolving very rapidly.
Epic.
But as the company, it's really rooted in those problems that we're trying to solve. Better user experience for the student, they're exchanging expectations, staff shortages, and lack of resources for higher education, and also the ability to kind of bring all that stuff together with ROI. So you actually have a map of that student journey and understand where to invest and where not to invest to provide that better experience.
One great piece of advice from Ardis is to fall in love with the problem. That is a really good piece of advice, because if you're not in love with that problem, you're never going to be able to solve it. You have to own it. You have to live within that problem. You have to look at, you have to feel it in order to solve it, right? And so that's what I think you get with the Element451 team. And product is literally a group of people and individuals who I've met many of, who are in love with this problem of solving our higher ed challenges. Congratulations to you, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Ardis Kadiu, and he is the one and only founder and CEO of Element451. Ardis, thanks for coming back, man.
I appreciate it.
We love you. We love your work. Ladies and gentlemen, follow him. Find him on LinkedIn. Follow the company. Look him up. They can help you. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what you've done? You've just EdUp'd.